Welcome to the 16-time Emmy Award-winning ThomaHawk Show. I'm your humblest of co-hosts, Andrew Hawkins, joined as always by the greatest football player to ever pick up the pigskin, John Fontenelli.
Hey.
And then we also have Joe Thomas on the line as well. Joe, I'm going to ask you how you're doing, but before you answer, I want you to try to do it without referencing the sport of football. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Hawk. Thanks for asking. And I'm going to tell you why I'm doing good, because I went to a sporting event last night, and my second daughter just turned 5 2 weeks ago. And so her birthday present was my wife and I take her by herself to a sporting event, with which we paid off last night. And she had the most amazing time in spite of the results of the sporting event, because she finally got mom and dad one-on-one, undivided attention. And for our number 2 child, who is an actress in the making, the ability to get undivided attention for her to perform is the pinnacle of her life. And she had a great time. And so in spite of the result of that sporting event, I really had a fun night with my family, and it was an amazing atmosphere in Cleveland.
That's awesome.
And so even though I'm a little sad because of the result of the sporting event last night, I'm feeling good this morning, and I'm ready to knock out an amazing tomahawk.
You know what? I almost wish I would have let you reference whatever that sporting event was, because that was a really good story. I took my daughter to New York a couple weeks ago by herself. I have twin 4-year-old girls, and I'm always taking my son places because he loves sports. And my daughters are like, yo, you never take us anywhere. So I let everyone have a trip. My daughter wanted to take pictures in Times Square. She's 4. So we went one-on-one, just flew to New York for a day, and she loved it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. All right.
It's special. You know, you got a bunch of kids and you start splitting them up, and they get that one-on-one time where they really feel special. It doesn't matter what you do, but it makes you feel good as a dad. Like you finally have done something right.
We are broadening our horizons here as a podcast, man. We're the official podcast of dad life. All right. For everyone who's been living under a rock, we are the best podcast in the history of sports. So you should first subscribe, and then second, rate 5 stars and leave an incredible review for the podcast, so all your friends can find it. And also tweet about it. You can tweet us as well, at ThomaHawk Show. Hit us up on Reddit, Instagram. You can join our Facebook group, ThomaFlock, and you can leave us a voicemail at 440-628-1376. All the Browns voicemails are hilarious, especially during this time of year. All right, on today's show, we're going to talk Daniel Jones, the phenomena that has hit the Big Apple. We're going to talk, obviously, our Browns and the situation, the predicament we are in now as a franchise and as a team. And we're going to talk about Minshew Mania. Who else are we talking, John? Am I missing something?
Maybe little Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, little Ravens. Okay, well, we'll rope that into some AFC North talk. Mm-hmm. All right, before all of that, it's time to get right into the infamous and sad at this current state, dog check.
Dog check!
All right, you saw it last night, Joe. I'm going to just leave it to you, because I would imagine the sporting event you were at last night was the Cleveland Browns game. We lost 20-13 on Sunday Night Football to the Rams. We had a chance late. Had some misfortunes and unfortunate things happen. Give me your take, Joe. Go.
Well, the defense played outstanding. Anybody that watched that game saw a defense that was without its entire starting secondary.
Yeah.
Be able to limit most of the game, limited Jared Goff and that explosive Rams offense to, I think, 20 points was their final score. But it was even better than that. It seemed to me that every time the Rams would start driving, the Browns defense stiffened up. They didn't allow many consistent drives. So overall, their defense really played outstanding. I thought that was the best defensive effort they've played this season. So that was a huge bright spot. Offensively, still have not gotten into that rhythm and flow that we've been dying to see with Baker from what he was playing like last year. There was an attempt, it seemed like, to run the football a little bit more. Nick Chubb had over 20 carries, which was really good. I was excited to see that. They were running the football from their spread personnel, from their 11 personnel, from their 12 personnel. And there was a lot of space to run for a good part of the night. So that was a big positive. They hit some nice, easy completions, especially early on in the game, which when you have studs like OBJ and Jarvis, like a easy slant could go to the house like we saw 2 weeks ago against the Jets. And so I think that needs to be a part of their repertoire, which for me was positive to see some of that. But like I said, the disappointing part was the inability to put together long drives consistently. Still not converting enough third downs, but there was some progress on third downs. And then at the end of the game, just a little bit of the play calling and the execution that we saw in critical moments. There was a 4th and 9 that it looked like they were going to try to draw them off sides, but I got to think there was some miscommunication because they were going to draw on 4th and 9 from midfield, which is a very interesting call, I will say. I mean,
it's unpredictable.
It was unpredictable. There's no doubt about that.
Right?
If it was not a mistake of communication and that's not what the coaches wanted to run in that situation, I got to think that maybe there was something that they saw that nobody else could see, that they felt that they could get a first down on 4th and 9 with a draw play. So I'm not going to just lambast them for that call other than to say it was interesting. And I'm probably thinking that it had to be some type of a communication error.
But even still, I mean, that's
a concern.
That is exactly, like, you can't have those communication errors. If that is the case, or if it's written in our notes, if they thought it was third down because of the penalty, or if, like, no matter what it is, like, you can't have that on a 4th down play and such a crucial play in midfield. And then there is a trend of people going for it more on 4th downs because I think analytics play into that. But I don't know how the analytics say about running draws on 4th and 9.
Yeah, not the greatest. And then I would say the other one that Browns fans are probably scratching their heads a little bit this morning is when they finally got down to the 5-yard line on their last drive at the end of the game. It was 1st and goal from about the 5-yard line. You had 3 timeouts left, still down 7, opportunity to tie the game. And you would expect that out of those 4 opportunities, they're probably going to run Nick Chubb one time because they'd gotten down there earlier in the game and they had a nice play dialed up and Nick Chubb ran right into the end zone. And so in those situations, teams usually go into a game with 3 kind of critical moment, goal line-ish type plays. It's kind of like your 2-point conversion, end of the game type plays. And I think they probably used one of them earlier in the game. So you expected they had kind of 2 cute plays that they could catch the defense off guard with in that situation. And they threw the ball 4 times. And on all 4 of those, it just didn't look like they had their stuff together. They weren't on the same page as a unit. And it was disappointing that they didn't get a better opportunity to get into the end zone when they were down there in the goal line.
Tell me this. What is your take on the offensive line?
The offensive line in the middle 3, the guards and the center, have been very solid, very good, I would say, this whole year.
Yep.
Last night, they had a really difficult challenge. This is a really good defensive line. Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year, defending champion.
Yes.
So at times, Aaron won, but that's what you're going to expect when you're going against maybe the best football player in the game. The concern has been, for me, consistently at the tackle position on the edges, right?
And we've struggled as a franchise with our tackles for close to 2 decdecades now.
Couple decades here. The left tackle has been a big problem for many years, so this is no surprise. But I think the concern is there's softness on that edge, right? It's not like they're just getting bulldozed like we saw Miles do to the poor guys against the Jets. So it's not like they're losing immediately, but they're losing too quickly and they're soft on the edge, which is getting Baker a little bit gun shy. And so now he's trying to run and escape the pocket a little bit more quickly than he should. He doesn't feel comfortable climbing in the pocket, going through his progressions, and that's causing him to miss some open receivers. And I think we saw that again last night. So firming up the edges with your tackles in pass protection has got to be an emphasis moving forward.
How do you do that, though? I mean, honestly, it looked like a track meet for the DNs getting to Baker.
So it can either be technically. So last year, what we saw a little bit more from the tackles was what we would call a jump set, or like an aggressive set, where you're setting either on a 45-degree angle or it's more of a run block pass block where you see like the Patriots. So they're giving you what would be called a short but wide pocket versus a narrow and long pocket, which is what Baker's getting right now. So that would be a technical difficulty. Yeah, okay. You asked me offensive line play. It's your own fault. We're getting into this.
Sorry, listeners.
Yes. Or another thing you can do is when you do have those tight ends in there, give them a little bit of an assistance, either chipping those guys as they leave or bringing in a receiver to chip or wham and hit those defensive ends to give those tackles a little bit time.
Like I used to help.
Or you can move the pocket a little bit more. Yeah, you could run a few more nakeds. You can run more sprint protections. You could run a few more of those play action zones where it looks like a run and then they pull up where you see the Rams do that a lot.
Yep. I think they have to get their running game going a lot more. And it's tough, dude. Like, to be honest, I remember when we signed Dwayne Bowe, right? And Dwayne Bowe barely played. And Dwayne Bowe, I don't want to use the term melded in by the time he got to Cleveland, but he wasn't doing anything he didn't want to do, right? You weren't going to be able to force Dwayne Bowe into anything. He had made a lot of money at that point. He was good no matter what. So we didn't play him. Here was my problem with not playing Dwayne Bowe, right? Because him playing more would have meant I would have played less. But how football works is you pay where you want the production at. You make people go earn their checks. So they were like, Dwayne Bowe didn't come in shape. Okay, and of course he didn't come in shape, right? So you make him practice all the time. Don't let him out until he gets into shape. And then you put him in the game and you let him play bad in the game before you go to the next guy. But they were paying him like $8 million or $9 million that season, and he wasn't playing. The reason why I reference that is because we are paying OBJ a lot of money. We are paying Jarvis Landry a lot of money, right? So they're in this weird middle ground of, hey, we want to throw the football because we're paying so much money on the outside, but we haven't set up the system to best get those guys open, right? We didn't put a lot of money into our tackle position. So you were getting the result of the brunt of your money going to other positions. I actually wish they would target those guys more, because if you're paying that kind of money, you gotta trust it. It's like, yo, set them up, get them one-on-ones, and target them. Make the targets not work. Do not like ignore them just because, okay, we don't think we had this or have that. Like, that's where your money is. You put your investment into that part of their game. We have to show it, or at least prove that is not the place we should be going.
So you asked me the offensive line question. Now I want to know from your perspective, because you've got so much more intelligence and experience understanding receivers and the passing game. Tell me, what does this team need from a passing standpoint to get Odell and Jarvis more involved and to have more flow and consistency and rhythm in our passing game to be able to have some longer drives? Because we're just not putting together those long drives that go down the field, that march down the field, converting third downs, picking up plays, high completion percentage on that drive, and scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, I think we need more of a system. I don't know what that is. I'm not,
a system? What does that even mean?
It means,
say something that I understand.
It means this. There is like Aaron Donald, right? Like, you just talked about the interior of your offensive line, and they had a rough day last night. Not because they didn't play well. They were playing the best defensive tackle over the last couple of decades easily, right? He gives everybody fits. I remember John Greco telling me, because we played with Aaron Donald's older brother at Toledo, and so Aaron Donald was like 12 and 13 when we were at Toledo, and he would come to the games. Before we played the Rams when I was in Cleveland, John Greco was like, hey, if I'd have known that the little 12-year-old that was on the field in Toledo would make me not sleep all week before we played them, I might have thought about killing him then, right? That's how.
I think he was serious, too.
He was dead serious. He was like, if I could go back in time, I'd get rid of this problem before it started. So that's Aaron Donald. But I say that to say, we can't rely on receivers that way. When you pay big-time receivers, you were just thinking, okay, Julio Jones, you're going to line up and win. It doesn't matter what kind of system we have. We're going to throw it up. My first year in Cincinnati, we were just throwing the ball up to A.J. Green. We didn't have much of a system. We were all young guys, but he was just better than the guy across from him. I feel like for our receivers, That's what we're relying on, as opposed to something like when we were in the Shanahan system and an Andrew Hawkins could almost go for 1,000 yards because I'm in a really good system that works together, right? The run game is working with the play action. The play action is working, with my down the field throws or my shot plays, and everything is tied in together. Like you talked about an identity. We don't have that. Play actions don't work if there's not a threat to run the football, right? When they understand, hey, the tackles have been a little bit of a liability, and Baker feels it. He's going to run out to his right every time we apply pressure on that fourth down play late in the game. You can set your D tackles at the tackle position and leave the entire middle of the field open because they understand if we get to him in this certain amount of time, he's going to flush. He's not going to be thinking. He's not going to be going through his progressions. And all that comes from having a sound running game. The best thing you could do for a young quarterback, and I know Baker is a baller. We've seen that last year. Everybody says that, everyone agrees in it. But he's still a young quarterback. And the best thing you could do for a young quarterback is give him a run game. Give him a run game, take the pressure off of him, give him the option of play action. We have not had that early in this season. To be honest, what we're looking at in the Browns doesn't look much different than what we've seen over the years.
So do you think that it's a matter of the system not fitting together? Like the run doesn't look like the play action, and the pass plays, they're not fitting together like they should. Like you mentioned the Shanahan system where everything fits together. You know exactly why we're doing this play in the first quarter because it's going to set up this play in the second quarter. Like I always would think about the play action concepts that we used to run. We would run like the drift route and then the takeoff. Yep. And you would try to get that safety to suck up because you knew there was space between the linebacker and the safety, and you could throw it over the linebacker's head in our play action scheme because there was like this little window where you could throw to the receiver.
Exactly.
And then if that safety ever crept up and got a little bit horny for that underneath route, he was going to try to make a play. Then that's when you ran the takeoff, and it looked exactly the same, but you had to feed it to him a couple times in the first half to get him to bite on it so you could hit the big play over the top of his head in the second half. And so you're kind of saying, from what I understand, is that they need a little bit more of a fit where everything works together and works complementary within that offense.
Absolutely. It takes pressure off of everybody. Every route that I ran in that system looked like I was going to block. And every time I went and blocked, it looked like I was running a route. So what that meant was they never knew what it was. And everything you guys were doing, it was hard to diagnose until as late as possible in the play. So over time, it opened up everything. Now what happens is you understand that, I got to scheme a little bit to get this 5'7" number one receiver I have to be a real threat. Well, when you have one of the best receivers in the last 10 years, you lax off of that a little bit. You put a little more pressure on him and say, hey, okay, just go get open. Here's a route, win, right? And I feel like we have some tendencies that people are on to. They understand, defenses understand how Baker plays. They understand his trigger points. They understand, okay, if we do this, he's going to do that. And they're just playing this a certain way, and nothing is opening up. Like, everyone got excited when he was getting the ball out of his hand quick. That's what Baker needs to do. Those are the kind of plays he needs to play. Like, line up. Let's slant them to death. I don't care if OBJ is a homer. Hit them with 10 slants. Make them guard that, and then everything else opens up. I don't think we've done that enough.
So last time I checked, Kyle Shanahan was in San Francisco, and he was off to a hot 3-0 start. So outside of bringing him back to run the offense the rest of the season, how does Freddie Kitchens fix the offense moving forward?
I think we got to dive more into the run game. And again, this is without me understanding like the exact state of the offensive line, because you can only run the ball as good as you can block. And last year we did it really well. I think we probably underestimated the loss of Zeitler, what that was going to mean for us in the run game and running between the tackles and kind of establishing the run, because I feel like once he got going, everything else opened up. And the thought was, oh, okay, we sacrifice a little bit inside, we go get Odell, it's going to be that much better. That just hasn't been the case. But it's early.
All right. It's early. I'm going to put a positive spin/bow on this Browns game and say, okay, we're 1-2. We went toe-to-toe with the defending NFC champions. They were in the Super Bowl last year.
Facts.
Defense played really, really good. And you know what? We're not where we want to be right now, but I felt like there was improvement last night. We were starting to get that identity on offense. And if we win next week in Baltimore, We're going to be 2-2 and atop the AFC North.
Number one in the division.
We all want to jump off a bridge right now as Browns fans because the sky is falling. But if you looked at the season 2 months ago and you said, where were we after 3 weeks? You'd probably say 2-1. We're 1-2. But you know what? The Steelers are 0-3. The Bengals are 1-2.
0-3.
0-3.
Yep.
And the Ravens are 2-1, and we got an opportunity to be in first place after 4 weeks. So let's stay positive this week. Hope that we continue to make some progress and go beat the Ravens, because then you're going to be feeling real good about yourself.
Okay, I have a question for you. What was it like being in the presence of the legend Clay Mathews last night?
It was awesome. I actually got a chance to talk with him on the sidelines. I got a chance to talk with his daughter. Yeah. And he was just super humble, and it was amazing. You and I did the dog pound captains where we pump up the crowd at the timeout in the middle of the game. And that was really cool. We got a little bit nervous, but it was really fun.
That's good.
It was a great honor. Yeah. And it was interesting. So Clay Mathews' daughter, Jennifer, actually did that for him because he was so nervous and so humble and so shy about going out there with the microphone in front of the crowd that he didn't think he could do it.
Yeah, it's awkward.
And for a guy that plays
he's playing
19 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So he's a guy that you've always played second fiddle to, Clay Mathews. Being from Wisconsin.
Which one are we talking about now?
Being from Wisconsin. So what was it like? And you also met his dad, which was pretty cool for you as well.
I was talking about his dad.
I know. I'm nuts. All right, that's pretty cool. All right, we got Baltimore next week. Before we wrap up our dog check, what do we got to do to beat Baltimore?
So I think, like you mentioned, run the football, more of those easy completions, make the defense suck up and play tight to the line of scrimmage on our receivers. We're a team that wants to play with 3 receivers in the game. Mm-hmm. That's okay. We're not going back to playing with 3 tight ends or 2 tight ends and a fullback like we were a little bit last year. We have studs at receiver. We're going to put them in the game. We're going to try to stretch the field, but make that defense play tight to the line of scrimmage. Take what they're going to give you. Take those easy completions. Get Baker a high completion percentage game. Run the football, and then those big shot plays will be there. I just want to see consistency from this offense. And if we're able to stop the run game for the Baltimore Ravens offense, we win the game.
All right. I like it. I mean, another thing.
I mean, that's a lot of things.
But if
we do all those things, we're going to win.
It's no big deal. We also, I think, underestimated the loss of a pass-catching threat out of the backfield in Duke Johnson.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how things change when Kareem Hunt comes back in about 5 weeks.
Exactly.
Because he plays that role for us, and he's definitely a huge weapon, and it gives defenses a challenging time scheming for your offense when you've got Odell and Jarvis, and then you've got a running back that can catch the football, and you got another running back who can run with the football, he can block. So
I feel better now. Now that I forgot that Kareem was coming back.
Yeah, I feel a lot better. Kareem Hunt will be huge.
All right. Well, I think that's enough Browns. Let's head into our favorite segment, Am I Trippin'? What do we got, John?
The Chiefs beat the Ravens 33-28, although it wasn't that close for most of the second half. The Ravens also allowed almost 350 passing yards to Kyler Murray last week, and they beat up on the JV Dolphins in the season opener. I say all that to say, am I tripping, or are the 2-1 Ravens a little bit overrated and not a legit Super Bowl contender?
Joe, you take it.
They're a little bit overrated. I think people got really excited when the season started and Lamar Jackson started throwing the football much better than he did last year. And instantly everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon of, look, he figured out how to throw the football. He's going to be unstoppable because we know what he can do running the football. You add Mark Ingram, who's playing really well. This is a really hard unit to stop. Well, we agree with that. I think when you do beat up on some lower quality opponents, it is easy to get a little bit excited, maybe a little bit too excited about a team. And so I think while they did keep it close at the end, it really wasn't close throughout the game. And Lamar Jackson's still playing fairly well. The offense for Baltimore still playing pretty well. But the big thing that I'm concerned with if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan is they consistently are having communication issues in that secondary and giving up gobs of passing yards. Now, granted, it was Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the game right now.
He's the quarterback version of Aaron Donald.
He is the quarterback version of Aaron Donald. And they need to figure out that communication in the secondary because those breakdowns consistently are causing that defense to give up huge amount of yards and huge amount of points. And as good as the Ravens offense has been playing, they're not going to be able to keep up with everybody if everyone's scoring 30 plus points on them and throwing for 400 yards in the air.
Yeah, I like Lamar. I think I do think he came back to earth a little bit yesterday. He still played well down the stretch, but there were a couple decisions where he just literally heaved it across the field that he got lucky on. Yeah. And for any good quarterback, you're not going to get lucky on those every time. So I'm hoping, he doesn't make that a habit, but he's still going to have some maturing to do and some development as a quarterback. So, but I do think they're good. I'm not going to. Yeah, and I think anybody who can run the ball and play good defense, I think has a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, but they got to figure out their passing defense because it's been atrocious. And Lamar Jackson, a little concerned maybe in his passing. He was 3 of 12 on deep passes, which are 20 or more yards in week 3. And we haven't seen him struggle throwing the football down the field yet until this game. So maybe something to look out for in week 4 when the Browns go to Baltimore.
There you go. All right, what we got next?
Remember when Baker Mayfield said, "I cannot believe the Giants took Daniel Jones"? Well, Daniel Jones won his first career start. Sorry to rub it in, Browns fans, but the Giants are 1-0 yesterday and the Browns are 0-1. Daniel Jones has 4 total touchdowns this season. Baker Mayfield only has 3. Daniel Jones played 1 game. Baker Mayfield's played 3 games. Am I tripping, or is Daniel Jones what we thought Baker Mayfield was supposed to be?
No. I would bark it back. What happens is everyone who's halfway decent can surprise people, right? Especially when all the scouting reports said he's just like Eli. He's not just like Eli. He's a lot more athletic. Mm-hmm. All right, that's number one. So he was able to buy a little bit more time in the pocket. He was able to run when the opportunity presented itself. So I don't want to say that they were just not prepared because I think Daniel Jones balled out, but I am not in the world of overreacting over one good game. But I was proud of him because he did shut a lot of people up because everyone had Daniel Jones hot takes when he got drafted.
Yeah, he played fairly well, and the surprising part of his game was Tampa blitzed him the entire game because with any rookie quarterback, you're like, all right, we're going to try to disguise and we're going to blitz. Like, see what he knows within this offense of being able to get rid of the ball quickly. Does he understand his hot routes? Does he know how to move protections? Like, we're going to throw the kitchen sink at him. And he was actually really good against the blitz. Man. I think he was like 12 of 16 for almost 200 yards and a TD. So maybe they don't blitz him next week.
That's what happens.
That's the thing. But I think that's what you're getting to is like, this was a case, in my opinion, right now of beginner's luck. Right? It's the first time you take your wife to the craps table and she's rolling dice and she's winning for everybody, right? It's called beginner's luck for a reason. He's a beginner. This is his first NFL start. Teams don't really know what he does well and he doesn't do well, so they blitzed him like crazy. He ended up handling it really well. So the next team that faces him is going to throw all those blitzes out versus those certain personnel groupings and formations. Mm-hmm. They're going to come up with a bunch of new blitzes and see if he can handle those. And if he handles those well, they're going to just Rolodex coverages and they're going to stand back there and they're going to run 15 different coverages. They're going to make them all look the same and they're not going to blitz him. They're going to see if he can diagnose the coverage and if he can break down different leverages and coverages while that somebody's rushing him and just see what he does standing in the pocket without getting those quick throws out of his hand. They're going to keep needling him in all different directions and find out what he doesn't do well. And then they're going to give him a heavy dose of that until he fixes it or he can't survive in the league. And so for me, I want to see 3 games from a rookie before I can say, I think that they've thrown a good game plan at him and he's able to recover and respond. And so while I'm happy and I'm a little surprised he played this well in his first game, it was against Tampa Bay. And we do need to wait at least 3 games, like I said, before we can have a little bit bigger sample size and say, they've given him 3 different defenses, 3 different game plans, and he's handled all of them really well. He's exceeding our expectations for a top drafted rookie quarterback.
What we got next?
Last one. The streets of Jacksonville are buzzing with excitement because of Joe's new BFF, Gardner Minshew. Guys, am I tripping? Or is Gardner Minshew a star in the making?
He is a star, man. He's someone you love to root for. And people love mustaches, man. I tweeted that yesterday. Like, can you imagine if Daniel Jones could grow a mustache? Which I'm 100% sure he can't. But still, like, people, for whatever reason, love 70s porn mustaches on quarterbacks. But, I mean, Minshew,
you know why it is? It's because it's humiliating. And people love seeing people humiliate themselves. Right. That's what the mustache phenomena is all about.
He played for 4 different colleges. How do you not love that guy? He's on his 5th team since high school, and he's a rookie. I love Gardner Minshew. Joey, what are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, it was fun being a part of that game. It was fun having him on the set after the game, because when you see a guy that's new to this, that is basically didn't expect him to even be in the NFL, having the success that he had. I think he was 20 out of 30 and a couple touchdowns, no picks. And he did a really nice job throwing the ball into the holes near the sidelines. I thought that was really good for a rookie to be able to throw a lot of those fades and those sideline routes. I was really impressed with him throwing the football. And it was fun because he had this exuberance about him. He's got this like youthful excitement. The game has not been like smeared yet. He hasn't dealt with the adversity and the shitty part of the NFL. So he's like the virgin that hasn't dealt with the crap yet. And so he's fun to cheer for, fun to watch. And it was interesting. I came into the Browns facility this morning, and Baker quick came up to me and he grabbed me by the shirt collar and he goes, "Don't you dare cheat on me with Gardner Minshew. I'm your boy. You can't go over there and show love to another quarterback with a cool mustache from a conference that you've never heard of."
Who also went to 5 different schools. It's my story.
Also went to 5 different schools.
That's how I felt about Damon Gillespie.
Obviously, you don't have a lot of Italians in your family. It's Giuseppe.
How do you say it? Giuseppe?
It's Giuseppe.
Giuseppe. All right. I do love that dude.
That's my Italian name is Giuseppe.
Yeah,
that's
your Italian name is, I don't know. All right, what do we got next, John?
That's it. Joe's got to get out of here and do Colin Cowherd, so we got to let him run.
Speaking of cheating on your shows, Joe has to run and do Colin Cowherd. So I think that does it for this episode of the ThomaHawk Show. Make sure you like, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, all of that. Hit us up on social media. And also, send us voicemails. What are you feeling? What do you think the current state of the Browns is, man? We want to get your opinions and comments and hopefully use them here on the show. I'm going to bring in a fan in next episode, I think. Next dog check, we got to get a completely biased and completely irrational fan from the Browns kingdom. We're gonna bring him on.
We won't be able to find any of those.
Yeah, that'll be tough. We're gonna. The search starts now. We'll find this a lot easier than we found.
We're looking at a couple of them right now.
We'll find this a lot easier than we found NFD or Nat. Okay, Joe. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts, Hawk. The Cowboys won against a crappy Miami team. Should not have surprised anybody. But you know what? It impressed me for one reason, because after 2 good games, it would have been easy for that team to take the Miami Dolphins lightly, go out there and skate through and get a close victory against the hapless Dolphins. But you know what? They went out. They took it just as seriously as the first 2 games. They played really good football. They continued to improve. They continued to impress. And that tells me that they are a very well-coached team who is ready potentially for a championship run. Mm-hmm. So if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan right now, you got to be feeling really good about this team and really good about their direction. It reminds me of the discipline that the Patriots always seem to have, where it doesn't matter who they're playing, they prepare the same way, they bring the same energy and enthusiasm to the game, and they always go out and they almost always play really, really good. And that's exactly what they did against the Dolphins yesterday.
On to the Ravens. Take us out, Joe.
Joe Hawk yourself.